I just want to keep it simple, because if I keep it simple, you've got more chance of getting a result, and you've also got more chance of actually doing it, which is what I care about.
Hey, this is Dennis Consorte with Snackable Solutions, and I am here with Ryan Carruthers. How are you, Ryan?
I'm really good, Dennis. How are you?
I am doing amazingly well for a Monday. And before we get into the membership mastery, I really want to learn a little bit more about you. I checked out your LinkedIn, and I feel like there's more stuff that happened in your life previously. Tell me who Ryan is.
Yeah, so I'm not really a big LinkedIn person. I've only just recently gone back onto it because I wanted to connect with some people, and I saw that they were easier to get hold of there. Um, but yeah, I'm I'm a Brit, and I have always been entrepreneurial. So even going back to like the school days, I remember one specific example where a kid came into school and he wanted to buy a guitar, and he had this list of PlayStation games that he was selling, and he had the prices next to them, and I just said, I will buy all of them off you. And I knew he wanted the guitar, so we did a deal. And I didn't even have the money. I went home and was like, Dad, I need to borrow some money. And then my dad was a window cleaner. He had his own business, so I ended up working on Saturdays to pay off my debt to my dad. He gave me the money, and then I sold the games off, so I did really well from that. And that theme has just gone through my life the whole way through it. I went to university to study business at 18, but I actually dropped out. I hated it, and I went back to college, changed my A levels that we do in the UK to get into university, and then I studied physiotherapy. But while I was at uni studying physiotherapy, I also sold makeup. So I was selling makeup to the girls on my campus, and I just carried on doing that. And then I started to build communities. So I built a trading community around Betfair, and I just realized that I love marketing. Like, I love digital marketing. I love writing emails. I love getting into the data. I love finding the problem to complex solutions. And I love tweaking sales pages and writing new headlines that can make a 1-2% difference. I just get excited about that. I'm a real student of the game, so I can't get enough of it, if that makes sense. I'm reading and I'm listening to podcasts, and yeah, that sort of in a nutshell is me sort of professionally. And then away from um, that, I am a dad to my first child, 9 months old now, and a husband, and yeah, those two are basically my life. So yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Now, before we get into too much depth, I'd love to hear how a guy like you sells makeup to women on campus. Tell me that story.
Well, it was very simple, really. I looked at the demographics at university, and there was more women than there was men. And there was, as is a lot of the time when you leave a city that you're used to, you come to a new city, there's certain things that you can't get hold of, and you have to order online or whatever. And the particular brand at the time didn't have a shop in city of Sheffield I was in. So I just sort of did a basic survey. I overheard a couple of girls in my course saying how they couldn't get hold of this makeup, and it was very difficult, and the post and packaging was going to be quite a lot. So I basically wrote to the company and kept writing to them and said, I need to buy this in bulk from you at wholesale, and I'm going to sell it on campus, and explain the situation. And they said, okay, but you've got to make a minimum order of £1,000. So we did. And then that arrived on the Tuesday, and I'd sold it all by the Thursday, just from people in my course. And then I knew nothing. I knew nothing about what it does. All I knew was the products that people want, and the most popular ones. That's what I tried to order. And then I did a couple of things that, looking back, were actually quite smart. So one of them was, I found a lady on my course who just looked like her makeup was done better than anybody else. Like, it didn't look too heavy, and offered her a deal. So she would actually come and help me sell the makeup, but she'd do demonstrations on people, etc. And then she'd get free makeup and then I would sell them. So she handled all of the selling basically for me. She knew what everything did, and I just gave a free makeup. And then the other thing was, well, there's two other things. I started to track the usage of it. So on average, how many times people would order and how many days in between those orders. And then I would reach out to the people. I basically create a spreadsheet database and say, I know it's normally around this time that you reorder or you might be running out. Then I'm about to put an order in. Do you want me to put one of your foundations on? I've got it on file. Yes, please, Ryan. So I'd send a PayPal link to take a deposit to get that product. But what I also did with that was I didn't just take the cost price. I also did a little bit more, and that allowed me to try different product lines that the company were recommending to me. So that's how I did it.
No, that sounds great, and there's a lot to unpack there. Really, what you're talking about is you found a market need, you figured out how to fill the niche, you pitched a supplier to get them to sell you the stuff, you found people who would buy it, and then you found somebody who would sell it for you who could do a better job at that. And that feels like a model that you could have just cut and pasted to any business. Is that what you did with Betfair trading, or was that something different?
I've never been asked that question before, and I think it's like Steve Jobs says, it's only by looking back can you connect the dots. And now I look back at things I've done in my life and realize that I tend to do things without realizing that that's the way that they lead to success. So I just go, well, that's how I've always done it. And I've done it that way before and it worked, or I'll try a different way. I don't really put too much emphasis on it. And how I built Betfair Trading Community was just very, very similar. Now I'm thinking about it, I was teaching for Betfair and I was going into the community that they had on their own forum, and it was just horrible. It was just a horrible, horrible place to go. People weren't very welcoming, they weren't helping each other, and there was nowhere else for people to talk. So I decided to just create a little Facebook group and charge £7 a month to have people be part of it. And I thought by putting that money barrier as well, it would actually pre-qualify people to be nicer. But then I came down on people quite heavily, and I made sure that this ethos was built around this community. So in the early days, and still to this day, I still hold that company to this day, we started with one rule in mind, and that was that no question is a daft question. So basically what that enabled me to do was build a community around that ethos, and that's then flowed into the way the members interact with each other, the way that we bring staff members in, the way that I write my marketing, the way I write my emails. And it's been probably one of the best things that I've ever done. And that's just how I built it. And then I got quite a few lessons in community management and all of those kind of things. I started to see what I actually wanted, and not just what they want, but what they need. Because you can't just build software for or content for what people actually want, because they'll tell you what they want, but you don't know, they don't know if that's actually what they need. So your job, and that's what I was really starting to learn, was to go, what do they want, but what is it that they actually need? And a lot of my traders and my members are saying we need strategies, we need to be able to trade better. And that was all well and good, but the step before that was they needed good quality data and a repeatable system to be able to build those. So I built a database that allowed them to do that. And again, now we're looking back to the makeup. I actually, one of the members in my community had already built this database because he was using it for his own trading. So I brought him in, and he's still a partner to this day, and he provided that information, and then I sold it.
That makes good sense. And when you talk about building a community around an ethos, is that how you train people on building communities? Like figure out what your mission is first, and then walk me through that process.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the things that I teach people. The first thing that I teach them is, what do they want? Because a lot of the times, what do they want and what don't they want? Because a lot of the times it seems great building a community business or a membership business or any online business, but what can end up happening is 2-3 years down the line, you actually resent that company because you built it because you wanted to make more money. Now you're making more money, but now you start to hate it. So I actually take a step back and go, what do you want and what don't you want? And then let's build that community and your business and life around that. Because otherwise there's absolutely no point. They all come to me because they want to make more money and they have a skill that they want to teach. They're not marketers. They don't know how to get people to that membership, which is where I come in. So that's the first step. We look at that. And then the second step is we look at the offer, because you've got to have an absolutely amazing offer. So then I work with people to create an offer so good that people would be daft to not work with you. So then we work on building that offer up and up. And then we start to get into the real marketing side of it, the building of the list, the building of your audience. And I give strategies and everything I've used to build Betfair Trading Community, which is where I differ from a lot of the people out there, because they're just teaching theory, where I'm actually teaching what works, what I've used. This has been working for me for over 10 years now. So I only use things that I know will work. Yeah, that's where I differ from some of the other people out there, because I'm not just teaching the theory, I'm actually teaching what's worked, and I've actually done it over 10 years. I've used the templates, the emails, sales pages, everything that I give to actually build a community. And you get all of that inside of my membership.
Now, before we get into those technical details, it sounds like you're helping people not just figure out how to make money, but to find purpose. And over on our side of the pond, we talk about the Great Resignation right now. It's a big thing. I imagine that you talk about it over there too. What are your thoughts on starting this kind of business, building a community today, in the middle of everything that's going on with COVID, lockdowns, all of that stuff, versus a few years ago? Anything different?
That's a great question. I think the thing that's different is that it's accelerated the industry so much further. I see people all over Twitter talking about building a community, and it's almost like they don't call it a membership. And I'm old school. It's like it's been a membership. That's what I've built. It's a membership. It's a community of people. That's what it is. But I think it's really pushed the industry on many years, because people have spent more time at home and they have reassessed what they actually want from their life and how they want to live their life. They're more used to Zoom now than they ever were, because we had to get used to it. They're more used to digital events. They're more used to live events. They're more used to communicating in a community type environment. So I think it's done wonders for the industry, and really allowed people as well. In the UK, we had the furlough scheme. So people were paid 80% of their salary and they didn't work because they were on lockdown, they were at home. And what we found in the UK was a lot of people that had these ideas of businesses, but didn't have the time now with work, were getting paid 80% of their salary to be at home and have all this free time, and they had nothing to do. So we started seeing these different businesses pop up all over the place, and it's great to see.
Yeah, we noticed something very similar over here too, and I feel like there are both good and bad outcomes of what has happened over the last couple of years, and I feel like the introspection piece is one of the good outcomes. So I agree with you. Now, when it comes to your process, what's really interesting is you spoke about an Excel sheet, and on your website you talk about a Trello board to get started. These are much simpler models than what people often say, which is, oh, you need a CRM and you need to build your funnel and you need to build sequences and all this stuff. Tell me why your model is different.
Because I'm a simple guy. Um, Basically, I don't like to overcomplicate things. I think that digital marketing has been overcomplicated by marketers for years in a attempt to part you with your money and make it seem like this elusive, never be able to attain goal, and you need their super system to do that. Where I just want to keep it simple, because if I keep it simple, you've got more chance of getting a result, and you've also got more chance of actually doing it, which is what I care about. I want to see you do well. I want to see you succeed. So yeah, I just keep it really simple and really methodical. I just try and take the errors and the guesswork out of every step, It's really funny actually because I've done that for years, and people comment and go, "I signed up. Where's like the 200 hours of video?" I go, "There isn't 200 hours of video. It's like every lesson is like, I think the longest lesson is 20 minutes, and that's the longest one. Like you don't need that. If you are signing up to me because you want me to give you loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of video, you're going to the wrong person. If you want to come to me and get a result, then you're definitely with the right person, because I've just stripped away all of the nonsense and gone, this is what you need, do this, and you'll succeed.
And that's why you're so compatible with Snackable Solutions, because that's the goal here too. Let's just come up with a couple of minutes, do this thing, and your business will be better. And so, with that, it brings me to my favorite part of the interview, the Snackable Solution. So, why don't you tell our guests what yours is and how to go about it?
Yeah, so my snackable solution is one that is so simple to do. It is on all of your thank you pages. So when anyone's either bought a product, they've opted in, whatever they've done, just put a very, very simple survey that just says, what were you doing in the world today that made you stop and do this? That's all you need to do. What in the world were you doing today that made you stop and do this? You will get so much great feedback from that. Now, you can embed that as a Google form. You can use Typeform. If you really want to be really cool, you can use an app called Video Ask. Now, Video Ask is made by Typeform. You can record a video. Now, people can reply to that video with straight from that page. They don't need to go anywhere else. They can do audio, text, or video, which is absolutely amazing. So you can make sure all of those are turned on, and people will be able to reply to you. Now, the reason that you do this is you're getting first-hand wording, video, audio of why somebody actually stopped what they were doing to engage with your company. There is nothing more powerful for your brand, for your marketing, than knowing exactly why somebody stopped what they were doing today to engage with you, because then you can just use the words that they use in all of your sales copy and your emails. You know, everybody says it's really, really difficult to write sales copy and emails. Well, it's not if you do this, because if you have 100 people who fill that in, you now know why 100 people stopped what they were doing today to engage with you. Now you can just turn that into your emails, your sales copy, everything. It almost writes itself, and it's straight from the horse's mouth. Now, if you use Video Ask, it also auto transcribes it, which is great, because if you want to go down that video route, then you've also got the information there, so you can see the words that come out. But yeah, very simply, you can just use a Google form, which is free, and people will fill it in and they'll tell you, and you'll get really, really good data about why somebody wants to get your solution or engage with your brand.
That's great. And Ryan, how do people find you online?
So there's a few places you can find me. I'm quite active on Twitter. I really, really like Twitter. So it's just at Ryan Carruthers. You might need to check the spelling of my surname though. It's Carruthers. And Dennis, you did a great job of pronouncing it. And also, if you want free Trello boards on how to build your audience, how to get an offer so good that people can't say no to it, you can get that at themembershipmastery.com. They're the best places to get me.
Beautiful. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing this valuable information with our audience. I'm sure many people will take you up on your offer and check out that Trello board.
Thank you for having me.